Good evening from our home in the Great Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. My name is Ryan, and in this video, I'm gonna show you how to build a trellis to make you jealous. At least that's the name of the original video I ran across when I was up late one night and went down the YouTube rabbit hole looking for ideas on how to trellis our tomatoes, because it's time to pull out these things. And let me tell you what, I am not a fan. I've had these things for years. They're big and bulky, and I gotta store it every year. And so we're gonna be done with those things. I've got a new solution that works way better. I've watched the video, became YouTube certified, and I tried it, and it does work. So I built this one over here, and I built another one over there, and we're gonna build one together, show you the parts that I have, and then I'll give you a little tour of our garden. We have some things in containers, and then we also have some things in ground. So I'll show you what we're growing, give you a little garden tour, as well as maybe walk over and check out some of our fruit trees. Just give you a little look at what we're trying to grow out here in East Tennessee. So here's one that's complete before we build the second one. You can see it's just a T-post in the ground. This is a 7-foot T-post that I picked up at Tractor Supply. I believe they were $8 a post. From the T-post, we have this little PVC elbow. I believe this was about $2.70 I got at Lowe's. And then we have 1/2-inch conduit. This is a 10-foot section, $7 or so. And then as you work down a 10-foot section, I dropped another T-post in between these boxes and just have a T PVC section. Inside there is a little piece I'll show you in a little bit that just keeps these conduit, 1/2-inch conduit pieces together, and it's the same thing on the other end. In theory, I don't have to use a cage anymore. I just tie on some of this string that comes down to these clips that I can clip the string as our tomato grows taller and taller. I can kind of wrap the string around the tomato and add additional clips if I want to. But that way, I don't even have to deal with the cages. So this is one iteration of this particular setup with some string going down to tomatoes, which is what we're about to build on another row over here. But let me walk over and show you the other one that I built. Same premise. So I've got the T-post, elbow, conduit on this one, and I added some old fencing that I had sitting up in our garage, so that I have a row of cucumbers running all the way down here, and a little bit of that string that I'm using for the tomatoes to do kind of a Florida weave down, so they'll start growing and grabbing onto this fencing. Just can hold some weight, and I'll probably add some more of a little bit of a weave up here. So ideally, we'll see if we can get our cucumbers all the way up here to the top, which would be about 6 feet. So I'm gonna build our third trellis and do it with you here. The other thing I have, which you couldn't see before, is this little 1/2-inch coupling that I also got at Lowe's. I wanna say this was maybe like 60, 70 cents. And this is going to help keep the two 10-foot sections of conduit together, especially as weight begins to come on it. And we get some pretty good wind up here, so I'm just making sure that it's extra secure. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect these two pieces together first. Now that I have it connected, I'm actually also kind of using this as a guide to where to drop my T-post. I'm just gonna take my knife about where my T-post is gonna go. All right, now that we have our holes cut, I'm gonna drop the first T-post over here. So I decided to just stay with 7-foot T-post. But they did have 8-foot T-post at Tractor Supply, which is where I also went ahead and got this post pounder, because you could be cheap and say, I'm just gonna hammer it in, but I think this thing makes it so much easier. So I'm gonna push it down a little bit to get it started. And I'm telling you, this thing was 40 bucks based on the other ones I've done. This makes it so much easier. All right, there's one. Let's get the post pounder, yeah. I'm here to pound you down. I've tried not to worry about them being like perfectly in line. As long as they're it's not bad. We're doing okay. Last one on the end here. Oh, hey. Hold on, I need to pound this down. I'll be in a minute. So this thing is 18.5 pounds. So, you know, it's great for extra workouts and when you come out to the yard. Nah, who am I kidding? This thing's gonna sit in my garage. I'm not doing anything with this. All right, we're almost there. I've got my little PVC Tee and elbows. Again, these are 1.25 inches. So 1/2 inch pipe, 1.25 inches, super simple. I tried to do this when it was later in the evening, but it's still hot out. All we gotta do is slide this guy on like so. Go ahead and put the middle tee in. So now I have the two 10-foot sections of conduit that are already connected together. We're gonna slide it through the tee, and I'm just gonna set it in the end, like so, and pop this one in. And just adjust this middle smidget. All right, and that's it. We are in business. Now that we have our T-post and conduit up, it's time to add our tomato twine. This is 6,300 feet of it. And then I'm going to clip on the twine once I drop it down, these clips, which I picked up on Amazon. I'll put a link to both of these items I ordered on Amazon down in the description. So I'm just gonna pull up my tomato twine and just tie it up here on top with the very sophisticated knot. Get my $1.25 store little extra knife that I had picked up. Let me grab the camera so I can show you. I'm just gonna come down here to this tomato plant, which isn't very big yet, but I just have the string connected and clip it in. It can support the tomato, and I could kind of turn the string around the main branch of the tomato as it grows up. And again, I've got plenty of these. I got a whole bag, super cheap, maybe like 12 or 13 bucks. So as I have the string there and clip, it's gonna stay in place and it's not gonna move up or down. So as it grows, I can continue to add clips, or again, just kind of use the string itself, wrapping it around the plant. I've seen some people basically take stakes and put a stake in the ground over here and tie it, which I may end up doing, but for now, just to get these built and set up, I feel like it's perfectly stable enough. In fact, more stable than the cages we typically deal with, which we get some pretty good winds up here in the mountain, and I've come out and those cages are leaning over. And then as time goes on, if I kind of restructure where things are in the garden, I can always easily pull these up and reposition. So it's not a permanent fixture. I did think about putting some 4x4s in the ground and running some wire across the top and tying down into the wire. But the downside is if I ever wanted to reposition the garden, move things around, entirely move the garden for some reason, I would be dealing with a 4x4 versus these T-posts that still give me stability and the ability to move. All right, so let's walk around the garden real quick. I just have a garden hose, nothing fancy. I'd love to actually run a line out here, but this is just a quick and easy solution. I do have it firing off, kind of watering on a little timer I have here. And then I have this other water line connected to our Farm Daddy containers, which basically fill up a reservoir of water. And once it's filled, it stops, and are connected with standard garden hoses all the way across. And so there's a water line running through all of them, and they maintain a level of watering. So if I didn't water these for a week or 2 weeks, all these plants would continue to pull water from the bottom. I think I've had these things for maybe 10 years. I've had these things from a company down in Florida. But these containers work great through the years. They have a more fancy cover, and these are just Costco trash bags. And then I got a little piece of coated wire to help keep the trash bag in place on the top here of these Farm Daddies. But in the middle, before I put the trash bag down, is a bit of organic fertilizer. And this is just potting soil mix. Will typically grow really well. And these, so I've got lots of tomatoes in the middle here. We've got peppers. We love green peppers. And so we're able to get lots of organic tomatoes, peppers. I'm able to make some salsa and just some other romaine lettuce and various things. I'm going to add some more things over here in the coming days. And I've got a couple carrots coming up over here. Micah loves to grow carrots, so we've got a row of carrots, and then some other things like cilantro, and this is kind of like our little herb box with some carrots. These are all our potatoes, and the idea with these is I can just take these containers and dump them out and get all of the potatoes easily, and then I can put all the soil back in. But I've got some sweet potatoes, and then these are just store-bought potatoes. You can see the plants coming through. This is our second year doing potatoes like this. Last season they did okay, but we felt like they didn't get enough water. Thus the sprinkler system making sure that they're getting well watered daily on a schedule automatically, because there were a number of days I know they just didn't get water. The soil here in East Tennessee is way better than what we used to have in Florida, which is why we had all these down in Florida, because the Florida soil is so sandy. You can actually grow things much better here in Tennessee as far as soil goes. And another thing we're growing I wanted to show you is a jalapeno pepper, which is a heatless jalapeno. If you can find these are awesome for salsa, so you can make some more mild type salsa. We love the jalapenos. A lot of standard green peppers, which is why I'm not worried about putting a trellis on this row, but I'll put more tomatoes in here. So there's a look at some of our container-based items. I'll put some more carrots in here and some other items. And then when it comes to the ground, we have found the ground is much better here in Tennessee than what we used to try in Florida. Florida has so much more sandy soil. So what's nice is we can grow in the ground, but I don't like dealing with weeds. Thus, I put this weed barrier, commercial grade weed block barrier down on the ground, this fabric. And when I go to make these holes, I've used this, for example, I've used these sections for the last 2 or 3 seasons at least. And when I first made the holes, I made them with a flame, a little blowtorch. That way it seals off the edges and you're not fraying over time, because if you cut this material with scissors, over time it will fray really bad. We've tried corn in the boxes, but it seems to do much better in the ground. So we grow lots of corn and different squashes, watermelons, cantaloupes, and things that this whole area will just be a big green patch. I'll just kind of come out here in the evenings and just pick at any of the little weeds that are trying to come through these little holes. But over time, ideally, all of this should fill in. I'd love to see our cucumbers climbing over the 6-foot fence here. Our corn will get nice and tall. We've had some huge corn in the past, and hopefully we get some really nice potatoes this season, and we can keep regrowing from some of the smaller ones for the next season. I'm excited for this trellis system. I think it's really easy to set up. It's not very expensive, and so far I'm on the early stages of use, but in theory, I think this should work out much better than these old cages. So there's a quick look at our garden. Let me walk over here where we have some fruit trees planted. Let me show you a couple things we have growing right now. So we live on 10 acres, and I set this part of our property up with some fruit trees when we moved here. And this is a peach tree. It's got some peaches on it. Can't remember what this one is. I meant to label everything and it just didn't happen, but this one is a Japanese plum, was loaded with plums. I mean, they were everywhere and they are all gone. I think the deer already got to the plums, and the deer have been getting everything. We get so close to harvesting. This is an apple tree. It's got a couple apples, and oh, there they are, I see them. I think this is a Macintosh, which is so cool to grow apples. I know Brie had always dreamed of growing apples. Back in Florida, we could grow oranges easily, but it wouldn't get cold enough for most peaches, pears, apples. And this apple tree is huge. And the thing is I put these two apple trees in at the same time, and they were the same size, but this one just took off and it is loaded with apples. We've gotten so close to harvesting these apples, and they just eventually disappear overnight with deer. So I'm hoping to figure out a way to keep the deer off of them this season. And then over here I have more peaches, a wonky looking pear tree. This one needs some TLC. I need to chop off the top and get it to grow to the side. And here is a pear tree. They're looking pretty good. So same thing with this pear tree like the apple tree. I'm just hoping I can figure out an idea to keep the deer off. There's a few of our fruit trees. I actually just put in 15 new fruit trees, but they're so small and there's nothing really to show you. But I put in a whole nother row of peaches, pears, apples, and long term, there's a whole bunch of property that runs down into the woods that right now I let it grow for some hay, but I wouldn't mind converting that into just extended orchard area if I can just get some consistent results with actually being able to harvest some of these apples, peaches, and pears without being demolished by the deer. But shout out to Josh Sattin Farming for his original video entitled "A Trellis to Make You Jealous." I think this is a great system so far. I have limited use with it, but conceptually, I think it's a fantastic idea. I love the fact that it's mobile, and I love the fact that it's not very expensive. So I'm glad to be done with our tomato cages, and I'm excited to use our string trellis system this season. We're still very small plant-wise. I was a little slow and late this spring in getting things planted. I actually had to combat a number of black widows. I don't know why, but we had some black widows find their way under these boxes, and I was meticulously checking every single box before I reset the garden this year, and I found a number of these things. I was super slow and careful to kill every black widow that had made a home under the handles of our containers here. Again, all of these things I either picked up at Tractor Supply or your local Home Depot or Lowe's, and the tomato twine and those clips from Amazon I'll put a link to down in the description. We are affiliates. If you want to grab those down below, you can. Otherwise, let me know what your thoughts are of this trellis system. If you're using something like it, or if you've switched to this as well, what's been your experience? I'd love to hear some feedback in the comments. And let me know if you'd like to see an updated video once everything has grown up, how they're holding up, and my overall thoughts. Right now, they're very positive. I'm happy with this trellis setup. And if you'd like to see some more videos around our yard, for example, I'd love to go do one of our solar setup. We have a whole home Generac solar setup, and I can show you how many panels we have, our inverter, our battery backup, and how all that works. I've been meaning to do one of those. So if you'd like to see a breakdown on our solar setup, let me know, and I'll do another video like this, kind of breaking down how it's set up and how we use it on our app and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. And this was just a little home video, but maybe I'll see you on our next adventure. Bye. Oh, the coyotes are out. That's a lot of coyotes. Show you a trellis. Oh man, something got me. These sweat bees. What is that? Something is, go away. Oh, it's attacking me. Oh, what is that thing? Holy guacamole. Oh, it's mad. Oh, it's mad. Okay, back to the video. Man, these sweat bees, we didn't have these in Florida. We had love bugs and mosquitoes. Mosquitoes were like the state bird in Florida. We got these little tiny sweat bees, is what I've been told they're called. I don't know what they're technically called, but when you're out here laying on you, they'll sting you. That you have. So I'm determining what that scream is. Is it a, I'm injured or fighting with my sibling scream? There's a difference. It's still kind of in the middle. I don't know, it could go either way. Is it I'm really hurt or I got hit by a Nerf dart? I better go check on that one.